Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Narvaez, and I am a student leader at the East Campus Student Development Office.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marcelo. I'm also a student leader on East Campus.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vivian, and I'm a student leader at the West Campus.
Focusing on this last question and for what Ida said about education, some common terms in English cannot be precisely translated or have other meanings in other languages, like in Spanish. Have you ever had a time where this happened and it became a disadvantage to the Hispanic community? For example, classes or resources being offered in only English?
Yes, I've seen that. And it's very scary when you see it at the airport, you see it in some pamphlets, you're going like, you know, who did they talk to answer this? But a prime example of this was quite a few years ago, before you were born, a marketing at, the Big Pen, right? So there was a big commercial that said, the guy was wearing the Big Pen in his pocket and it started leaking. And the commercial was in English, don't be embarrassed, right? By, your pen leaking in your pocket. So this genius said, don't be, no se embarazada, right? And I was like, so, right. They took the word embarrassed and made it Spanish, right? Just by adding an A, right? And so they quickly realized, oh my gosh, that means pregnant, right? The other one was the Chevy Nova, right? The car, Nova, N-O-V-E. When that was up and running, they took it to Mexico. Nobody bought it. Why? Nova doesn't go, right? When you look at Nova, it doesn't go. So that didn't happen. So yeah, it's embarrassing when we don't look at this very carefully and see. You can't translate everything from English to Spanish or Spanish to English or in any language, right? You just can't do that. And so it's okay to say, I'm not going to create no problemo. No, that doesn't exist, right? And so when students come into the classroom and say, no problemo, I'm like, no, that's not it. So yes, I have an issue with that.
That's funny. There was a local school district who used to use Google Translate. I won't call them out. And it was when President Bush was in office, and it translated Bush to arbusto. And they sent it out to every Spanish-speaking family in the district. I've always said, there's a lack of respect and accountability to our community. And I think that, that it comes, it's imperative on us to make sure that we're telling people, it's not okay to just Google Translate. You have to invest in having somebody that speaks Spanish, that they are able to get that message to the community in the language that they speak, so that we're not getting second, third, fourth hand information, but they're getting it, accurately. And they're not saying, that you're pregnant instead of embarrassed. I think we see it a lot in the nonprofit sector of people when they say, oh, we'll just get, or in a school, I've heard, oh, we just asked the janitor to come and translate it. No, your front office person should speak Spanish. If you're looking to provide a service to your constituents and that constituency requires you to speak Spanish, then invest the money and make sure that they're getting the information the way that they should be getting it.
I will also comment that you could also invest it on yourself. You can also try to learn it in Spanish or another language. It's also fun and nice to have other interactions and other words that you can understand in other languages.
And the thing is you also, translation is not an easy thing. When you're looking at translation, you have to, all of us, we're from different countries, from Central and South America, right, or the Caribbean, and we have different expressions. So Marucci was saying that if we are in Texas, there's a totally different language that you're using there. And we notice that in textbooks, right? So we have my colleagues and I have said, let's be careful when we choose the textbooks, because there's certain vocabulary words that they're going to use in textbooks that are geared to the Southwest, right? So we tend to pick a book that's more balanced, more central to the Spanish language that we use, throughout. So we have to be careful with that. And does it flow? Does it make sense? Because you're not just going to put something there because Google Translator said to put it in there. It doesn't make sense, right? So you have to be careful with that.
I have a funny story about that. When I started just being an adult and traveling for work, I flew to the West, and, you know, I was born in Puerto Rico. I grew up in Orlando. So, you know, I know the Spanish that I know. And I said a word that was incredibly inappropriate, but I did not know, because for us, it just means to grab. So I said it, and everybody, like, you could hear a pin drop, and all the faces just turned out, and I'm like, I feel like I just did something wrong, and I'm not sure what I did. But, you know, it's impossible to know all the differences in speaking Spanish. Even though I speak Spanish, I have no idea. So it's funny to see our communities come together and just kind of go through that process of, oh, okay, well, this means this, you know, and don't say that, and cake for you is not for us. You know, it's like, oh my goodness. So you do what you can, but you're never going to please everybody, because you just don't know. It's way too much for any of us to know.
For me, like, I had an international student last year. She was my friend, and she had like received an F in one of her essays. And she was like, oh, hey, can you like look it up for me to see like what I did wrong? But she was like new, like international student, and she got Comp 1 English. And the thing is that like the way Hispanics write is different than the way that like that America writes with the introduction, and there you put the claim. They write more creatively, I would say, like with a more freedom. And then and it was just crazy because in Comp 1 or Comp 2, sometimes they don't explain it because they're like, okay, you should have learned that from high school. But at some people that are come new, they don't know that there's a format, and it takes time to actually learn the format. Like you have to learn it all throughout from freshman year to senior year of high school. And I feel like that's a thing that is kind of more complicated to understand, and like not easily translated the way you write in Spanish and the way you write in English.
Now we'll start with the second question. So this one is for you, Pure. So the question is, as we mentioned earlier, being in an environment where you are exposed to these situations, have you ever seen or heard of any experience of discrimination to the Hispanic community?
Yes, and this happened to me when I was the first year in the country, and I didn't really say anything because I felt like too new and I didn't have my information. I was on a bus. I'm pretty sure I told this story before. And there was like a couple speaking Spanish to each other. They're like Hispanic couple, and that was in Miami. And then this white lady was basically calling them out, saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be speaking Spanish. You're in America," or whatever she was saying. And the couple kind of, they had a really strong, I think, Colombian accent, like Paisa. So I don't know if they were new in the country or not, but whether or not, like, let's say me, I speak a lot of like English to my friends, and I'm good, and I'm good with English. However, when I speak to my sister, I speak in Spanish. And one of the things is that I didn't really know like the Constitution. I didn't know what freedom of speech was. I didn't know all of that, and I didn't really say anything, nor I thought that it was any of my business. But like it wasn't any of her business either to get into these two people's conversations and say something. And that's actually something that I've seen more so lately in videos that they post on social media about just discrimination to different communities, not just Hispanics, but other communities speaking their home language to other people, and other people just being bothered about the fact that they are speaking that language instead of speaking English when America doesn't even have an official language. But that's one of the discriminations that I've seen.
Thank you so much for sharing that experience. I myself had also an experience with discrimination. So I grew up in Aruba, and it's a multicultural island, but we have a lot of Hispanic Latinos, but it's actually with the Dutch kingdom. So they speak Dutch, and they speak their native language, Papiamento. So they used to they literally told me that I should go back to my country, like things you see that people record and things like that. And these were my classmates that told me these things. And for me, it didn't mean much that time, but now I'm like, you live in an island that it's full of different cultures and different people. Like that's what makes us, our island, Aruba. And then instead of like appreciating that, they do the opposite, which is horrible, but yeah. So the next question is directed to Marucci. In your professional opinion, what can students, staff, faculty, and organizations do to address these issues?
I always say, if you see something, if you hear something and you say silent, you're as bad as the person who said it or did it. Obviously, you know, don't put yourself in a situation that's going to harm you, but I always say, like in a boardroom, if somebody makes a comment that's not funny, they think they're being funny, but really it's offensive and everybody's laughing, don't laugh along with them, stop them. You know, I think when we go along to get along, we hurt ourselves, because then people think that, you know, that's acceptable. That's something that we're okay with, and we allow people to kind of knock us down. We see it a lot with the clients that we serve. You'll see it when they call, you know, when we're helping them call for assistance somewhere, and somebody will say, oh, speak English. And they're like, I am speaking English, you know, it's just, I have an accent because I've been here for a month. So I think when we do our part to try to be a part of a community, people need to do their part to welcome our community. But I really struggle with people that just kind of, go with the flow and don't stop people in their tracks when they're saying things that are offensive, whether it's a politician, and we hear it often, or, you know, just a teacher in a classroom that they may make a joke about a student. Like you said, another student making fun of their peer. I just think if we allow it to continue, then we're a part of the problem. So I always say, you know, just call people out. You only benefit yourself and your community when you're able to stand up and make sure that people respect us. My mom used to always say that, you know, she didn't know she had an accent until she moved to Orlando, because in Puerto Rico, she spoke English and Spanish and didn't have an accent. So she, you know, that's something that it wasn't a thing until she moved here. So we do our best with what we have, and people just have to meet us where we're at and never be embarrassed for an accent, never, you know, just apologize. I don't like when people go, oh, I'm so sorry, perdona, you know, I have an accent. No, don't say you're sorry. You speak 2 languages. You know, you're able to speak and think and articulate in more than 1 language. And I think that's amazing. So, you know, that self-deprecating, it doesn't help us move forward. So I think that just being empowered to know that you're able to educate people at all kind of moments in our lives and different situations that we're in is super important and something worth taking advantage of.
I want to add to Marucci's is that you have to, you don't compromise your values. If you believe in something, you stand for it. And there may be some consequences. Believe me, I know, but that's what you stand for. And you should be proud of what you stand for. And again, like Marucci was saying, you don't want to hurt anybody, and you don't want to get hurt either. But your values are important. And if you believe, you know, if you see something that's not right, I think it's important for us to speak out for whomever it is, right? That we don't allow that. And this is something that I've been doing for many, 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 many years. Yeah, there are consequences, but I'm willing to take them, and I'm really willing to stand for it, and I'm willing to stand by you. Wherever you are, whoever says anything to you, I'll be right there.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's all about the respect. It's all about being proud. As Marucci said, we are able to speak more than 1 language. We're able to think in more than 1 language. And it doesn't really matter if we have an accent. Americans have accents throughout the US too. So it's just a way of how we're speaking, but it's still the same idea. Jumping right into the other question, Ida, what do you think can be done to provide American minorities, in this case, the Hispanic community, more opportunities to earn a degree or have a more successful college experience?
Well, I know, you know, I've been at Valencia for a long time, for over 30 years, and I love Valencia. And we look at ways, what can we do to offer the bright education for all of our students, because we want all of our students to succeed. I think I said earlier, is to provide a quality education, starting from the very, very beginning. And start telling our students that, yes, you can be successful. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you can move on, and show them the paths that they can take. You don't have to go spend $50,000 a year at a college. If you have that money and if you can get the scholarship, by all means, go for it. But we have a college, Valencia College, where it's $6,000 a year, and we have quality professors at the college. Not because I work there. Trust me, we have professors that are invited to speak at Duke, at Harvard, at Yale, at Stanford, because of the qualities that they bring into the classroom. We're not perfect. Valencia is not perfect. We have professors that, you're going like, what? How did you say that? Why did you say that, right? But I think the positive is more than the negative, right? You're going to find, poor professors anywhere you go. But I think it's important to see that there are different paths for people. It does require for us to be dedicated. I think one of my concerns is that we're losing a lot of our Hispanic males, right? The Hispanic women continue with your education. The Hispanic males tend to drop off. Why? They find jobs. They need to work. The money comes in. They'll say, I'll take a class next semester, and then they don't come back, right? We need our men to continue with their education, to see what other avenues there are. With this whole thing with the pandemic, many job opportunities are going to happen that are not even in existence right now. So we have to see that. But I think make the path more available to them and see how we can help them. I think that's important. Start from very young, right? Start early and helping the children see that there is possibilities for the future. We need to work with that. And as we said earlier, we need to invite the whole family. I know that in Osceola, many times the whole family comes to the welcoming night and everything. And so we have to encourage that as well, and welcome them, because that's just part of the culture, right?
I would say when I did my undergrad, I didn't have one Spanish-speaking Latino professor. And I remember mentioning it to one of my board members, and they told me, why? Did you just want them to give you an A? And I'm like, no, I can get A's on my own. What I'd like is to see somebody who looks like me, who speaks my language, that I have somebody to look up to, that I say, if they did this, I can do this. And I think with our students, it's one of the things that they miss, depending obviously where we're at, is going through their educational trajectory with teachers that came from environments like theirs, that they're at a school with a principal that can tell a story that resembles their family, whether they were low income, whether they, lived 3 generations to a home, whether, at one point they were homeless and then they were able to make it. There's something to be said about seeing yourself in a person of power that makes you say, if they can do that, I can do that. With Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor, that's a perfect example. Little girls can look and say, I can be a lawyer, and then if I try hard enough, maybe one day that can be me. I think it's important to see that, because if we go through life with a lack of role models, a lack of, I'm not talking about athletes, they're great, but I'm not talking about musicians, I'm talking about everyday people, the doctor, the principal, people that you interact on a daily basis that share your story, that share your language, that you can kind of, go through a process of figuring out how they got where they are. I think that's something that, depending on where you're at, really lacks. And I really think our kids need that, our students need that. They need to know that they can do it, that, it doesn't matter how hard, nobody kind of woke up and things were handed to them. I don't know about you guys, but, I paid for my college. I got up, and I worked. So it took me 7 years to do my undergrad, but I did it. And then I went and got my master's. So things are possible. They're not always easy, but if you have people that can have those conversations with you and you can see yourself in them and go, okay, if they can do it, it's something that I can do. I think that's really important for students and just children in general, and starting as young as possible so they know, you know, that you're not your senior year saying, oh, you can do this, when at no point throughout your schooling did you receive that message from anybody.
I also encourage you to, it happens in November. It's called the Teach-In in Orange County schools. I don't know if they're going to do it this year because of the pandemic, but I encourage you to participate in that. And you would go to, you select a school in your area or that you're close to, and you would go and visit a particular class. Students, as Maruchi was saying, students need to see someone they can look up to and say, wow, they did it, or, you know, Marcelo's in college, I can go to college. And they're always surprised, you know, to see, right, that, oh yeah, there is a possibility, I can do that.
I feel like another thing as well, which is I feel very related to you, is when you are in a class, and I feel that a few semester goes. Usually I'm the only Muslim there, or Middle Eastern, and we have these different holidays, these different celebrations. So usually most professors, they don't know what I am celebrating. Why do I have to take a day off? What does it mean that I need to leave by this time? So I really understand that when you have a professor who has the same values, the same, and understand your situation in the classroom, and and you don't even have to explain it. Like when they see, like, I understand you, like I am there with you. It's a really amazing experience, and I really hope that as we go in the future, we have even more professors, doctors, and all of these people to represent us, that we don't have to explain ourselves. We don't have to explain that I need to do this because of my religion, or because of my that I'm Hispanic, or I am this and I'm that. So I think this is a lot of people who have different ethnicity background relate to in the same way you do. But it's very insightful hearing that from a different perspective and different background.
I think it's, we all have a responsibility, right, to continue this, to bring this awareness to those who don't have it. It's not easy, you know, but it's critical, especially these days, right? With a very important election coming, the way our whole country is where it's at right now. But you know, it's constant awareness, constant teaching, and showing people, you know, this is where we're at, right? And inviting them to the table, and hopefully they'll share, and you can share as well.
Thank you so much for all of your responses. This question and the last question is for Firani. In your opinion, how is the quality of education that is being offered in the US, specifically in Orlando and Valencia, to Hispanics?
For me, the quality of education that's been offered, like in Florida, specifically in Orlando, is just different. And I wouldn't say that it's the best, and I wouldn't say it's the worst either. I mean, the schooling system, the public system, is a whole different thing than, let's say, college. When I was in public school, there was a lot of things that I didn't understand, and there's a lot of things that I just didn't get the point of, because the way that they wanted to handle stuff, the fact that they would teach you American history, but they wouldn't teach you anything about slavery and all the things that happened, and the fact that my culture was like about being Latino, even though we're the biggest minority, it just wasn't mentioned. And it was pretty easy for me to forget about my own history when nothing really was mentioned about the Latino experience, or about our history, or any activities or any resources given to us. In college, it's a little bit different. However, I think that there's some things that we shouldn't leave for college, because not everybody goes to college. And then I think a lot of things should be taught in high school for students. the way that I saw a lot of things just being handled, especially with history and especially with math, I just feel like it doesn't really address students from other countries that don't get it that way. The way you even divide in math is different. But it's like, it was never addressed to me. Like, I would do my little division like this certain way, and then I would get the question wrong. And it's just, it was like a different experience. And I wouldn't say the system is completely messed up. I wouldn't say the system is it's wrong, but I do think that the public school systems needs to have a better work. And when it comes to resources, both in college and in high school, needs to be really given to the students and really advertised, because sometimes, especially in college, they want to let you know, okay, so like you can do whatever you want. You're basically independent studies. You do whatever you want. You take the classes that you want. And a lot of students are just not aware of the things that they need, the classes that they actually need to take to graduate, or classes that will be good for them. I mean, I just learned about Latin American history, like the class, and I am going to take it next semester, but I know that a lot of Latino students don't even know about it. And it's just, for me, the sense of awareness and the sense of addressing to students, okay, this is the way you do stuff. It's a little bit different, but we're going to have a learning curve with you. And sometimes that learning curve just isn't there. And yeah, that's for me.
I just want to say one thing to all of us. We're not minorities. We're not a minority. We are a member of the global majority. We're a member of the global majority. The global majority that's out there are people like us. So we're not a minority, right? When you hear people saying, oh, the minorities are going to be the majority, that's an oxymoron thing, right? We're not a minority. So take that word out of your vocabulary and put in the global majority.
I love that. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. But I think just related to education, I think one of the, and I know you guys are at Valencia, so I'm not being offensive, but I feel like students, they set the bar so high that they tell you have to go to college. And like you mentioned, not everybody's going to college. And I think we need to change that mentality that if you don't have a college degree, you're not as important as somebody who has a college degree. I think all of our community brings different aspects to the table. And, I may have my master's in public administration, but I'll never know how to make a car run, right? And I can't fix it because I don't know that hands-on type of work. So I think all of our community, we need everybody within our community to make the community function. And I think that more attention needs to be paid on certifications, things that'll make that if college just isn't for you because you just don't like, the academic part of it, but you can do, a 6-week certification and still make more money than some people with a degree, right? How many people are, go through college, they graduate, you have your cap and gown, you're so excited, and you wait 6, 7, 8 months to get a job, and you end up, an entry-level job when somebody that did a certification might be making $40, $45 an hour without having gone to college, and that's okay. So I think that we have to be okay with all of those different aspects. If somebody wants to go to college, then it's our job to make sure they can do it, that they don't graduate with excessive loans, that they're able, that they have mentors in school, they have a guidance counselor, they have professors that are there to help them along that process. But at the same time, if we have students that say, just college isn't for me, but I want to do something more, then we also have those supports in place. And I know Valencia does a good job of even having training programs that you can go through that are shorter time, that when you graduate with that certification, you can go into the workforce. So I just think we have to change that narrative within our community that, it's college or nothing. There's so many other things that are, that people within our community can do that I just think, it's imperative of just making them know that that's okay. And you're not less than, and you didn't make anybody upset. There wasn't anybody that feels like you're a failure because you didn't go to college. No, absolutely. There's so many other things that you can do and things that we'll never know how to do. So I think that's kind of an important conversation as a community. We need to continue to have that college isn't for everybody. For those that it is, it's our responsibility to help. for those that's not, let's empower them to get the tools they need so that they can get, you know, work within our community.
That's one of the areas that Valencia has been working a lot on. So, you know, we have different certificate programs in the AS degrees. And so that's something to look at. And, you know, as you were saying, it's not just the community, just in education, we have to change that language, right? Just to change that language. There's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, just to go back to your example about fixing the car, you need to have a computer degree to fix the car now because everything is computerized. Even the refrigerator is computerized. So, but, you know, those are areas that we need to look at.
Yeah, thank you. I believe this completes our questions. Thank you so much for all the panelists. Thank you, Fior. Thank you, Aida. Thank you, Marucci. And thank you for my peers, Wadian and Catherine, for this experience. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I hope to see all of you on the campus soon. Be safe out there. Wear your mask.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So, panelists, do you have any closing remark that you would like to add before we conclude?
If I have the opportunity to be born again, I want to be born again Puerto Rican. I love, you know, everything that growing up, I didn't like being Latina. I was the only one out of my friends, and I didn't understand why we spoke this funny language, and none of my friends did. And now I thank God every day that my parents instilled Spanish in my vocabulary, that when I would speak Spanish or in English, they would say they didn't understand me. And I'm like, I know you understand me because I know you speak English. You know, it's now as an adult, I appreciate it. And, you know, growing up when we were cleaning on Saturdays and the music was Spanish music, and now as an adult, I still hear those same songs, and, you know, everything's tied to memory. Like, that's just, it's an amazing thing. So the most important thing is that you're proud of whatever makes you who you are. You know, we're all part of a global community. And I think that just being able to look at everything that we bring and the amazingness that we all are, I think is a pretty cool thing. And like we mentioned, you know, it's not just 1 month out of the year, but every day that we can show people what, you know, being Hispanic is and what benefit that is to our community.
I'd say be proud of who you are and wear it well, right? Wear it well. And just think that our community is composed of so many cultures, right? And we bring all of that in our language, in our food, our traditions, everything. So yes, wear it well and wear it loud, right? So, and proud. Proud, proud, proud.
A big thank you to all of the panelists and the Hispanic Heritage Committee for making this event happen. We hope to have shared valuable information that the Valencia students, staff, and faculty will learn from. Let's all celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with big pride and honor. After all, it is our heritage, our voice.